look at somebody and say, "Focius." No. I said, look at somebody, say, "Focius." Because the truth is, in this noisy, distracted world, some of us are Lois NG, our destiny chasing things that were Nivea designed to fulfill us. Brothers, listen to me every time you let the wrong conversation, the wrong attention, the wrong distraction pull you out of your purpose. You're giving away pieces of your effudori for free. God didn't create you to be a puppet for somebody else's applause. You can't boo-ile your dream while you're busy scrolling through hers. You can't walk into your calling while you're running after validation from people who don't even SE your value. So today, we're gonna talk about barricading FRE, not from women themselves, but from the need for approval, from the need for attention, from the need to always be seen and liked and wanted. Because until you learn to ignore the distraction, you will never hear the instruction. Pause for applause or reaction. Are you ready? Let's go there. Distraction is one of the greatest tools the enemy uses to keep us from walking in the fullness of what God has called us to do. You can have all the talent, all the vision, and all the resources in the world, but if you can't focus, you will never finish. Distraction doesn't always come in the form of something evil. Most of the time, it comes dressed in something attractive, something exciting, something that looks good but is pulling you off course. It's not the thing itself is wrong, but the timing is off. When you allow distractions to occupy your time, you delay your destiny. Every moment you spend giving energy to something that doesn't align with your purpose is a moment stolen from your future. That's why you've got to be intentional about what you give your attention to. The enemy doesn't have to destroy you. He just has to keep you distracted long enough for you to miss your season. You can't keep running after people's approval, chasing relationships that add no value and still expect to reach your God-ordained destination. Destiny requires discipline. Purpose requires priority. You cannot build a kingdom mindset while entertaining things that weaken your focus. Every time you get sidetracked, you lose momentum. And when you lose momentum, you lose progress. You have to protect your focus like it's your life, because it is. Your destiny is tied to your ability to ignore what does not serve you. If you want to see the promises of God manifest in your life, you have to start saying no to things that don't line up with the vision. Stop letting distractions dress up like opportunities. Not every good is a God thing, and not every attention is worth your energy. When you refuse to be distracted, you position yourself to be developed. When you stay focused, you give God something to work with. Distraction is not just stealing your time, it's robbing you of transformation. Your destiny cannot be delivered in a distracted mind. If you are going to walk into your purpose, you have to understand that separation is not punishment. It is preparation. There are seasons in your life when God will start pulling certain people and certain things away from you. Not because they are bad, but because they cannot go where He is taking you. You cannot bring every voice, every influence, every opinion into the next dimension of your life. Purpose is too heavy to carry when you're dragging along unnecessary weight. Some of us are stuck because we are trying to keep everybody comfortable while God is trying to make us complete. You have to learn the discipline of letting go without feeling guilty. Separation feels lonely, but it is in that isolation that God sharpens your vision and strengthens your character. You can't build focus in the middle of constant noise. You can't hear divine instructions when you're surrounded by distractions. Sometimes God has to strip away your circle to save your calling. Don't confuse separation with rejection. When God removes people, it's not always because they are wrong, but because their assignment in your life is over. The next level requires a new level of thinking, and you can't elevate while staying connected to everything from your past. Separation is the price you pay for clarity. It forces you to examine what really matters, to invest in what will last, and to stop giving energy to what drains your potential. When you are serious about purpose, you will have to say no more often than you say yes. You will have to turn down opportunities that look good but are not God. You will have to resist the temptation, go back to old habits and old relationships just because they feel familiar. Growth and comfort cannot coexist. If you want to fulfill what God put in you, you must embrace the pruning process. Separation is not designed to break you. It's designed to build you into someone who can handle the blessing. When you stop fighting the separation and start flowing with it, you will discover that the very space that felt empty is the space where God plants new vision. Validation is one of the most dangerous addictions, and it doesn't look like a sin because it feels good. When someone compliments you, praises you, or notices you, it feeds your ego, and before you know it, you start living for likes instead of living for purpose. The problem with validation is that it becomes a trap, because the moment you need someone else's approval to feel valuable, you have given them control over your destiny. When they approve of you, you feel high. When they ignore you, you feel low. That is not how God designed you to live. You were created to walk in confidence, not in constant need of confirmation. The enemy knows he can't destroy you, so he distracts you by making you crave affirmation from people who don't even have direction for their own lives. If you spend your energy trying to impress others, you will always be a prisoner to their opinions. People are fickle. They will cheer for you today and criticize you tomorrow. If your self-worth is tied to applause, you will always live in anxiety. You cannot build greatness while begging for attention. Purpose demands that you know who you are without the need for external validation. You must reach a point where you no longer need everyone to agree with your decisions. Not everyone will understand your assignment because it wasn't given them, it was given to you. Stop letting people's acceptance determine your obedience to God. The trap of validation keeps you running in circles, performing for approval instead of producing fruit. When you break free from that trap, you gain the power to say no without guilt and yes without fear. True confidence is not arrogance. It's knowing that you are enough when nobody claps for you. The moment you stop chasing validation is the moment you start chasing vision. And vision will always take you further than applause ever could. Focus is a force. When you truly lock in on what God has called you to do, everything else begins to align. The problem is most of us are living scattered lives. Our attention is broken into 1,000 pieces because we are trying to do everything for everyone. But greatness is never achieved by people who dabble. It is achieved by people who are willing to concentrate on one thing long enough to see it through. Focus is freedom because it frees you from the opinions of others, from the pressure to compete, and from the temptation to chase things that don't matter. When you focus, you stop comparing your journey to someone else's timeline. You stop scrolling through social media wondering why they have what you don't. You understand that your lane is your lane, and as long as you stay in it, you will get to your destination. Lack of focus creates frustration because you keep starting things but never finishing them. You keep planting seeds in 10 different places but never staying long enough to see a harvest in one. You cannot master your craft if you keep abandoning it for the next distraction. Focus requires discipline, and discipline requires decisions. You have to decide what matters most and let go of everything else. You cannot afford to waste energy on drama, gossip, or empty conversations when your future is calling. Every time you lose focus, you lose time, and time is the one thing you can never get back. The enemy doesn't always try to destroy you with disasters. Sometimes he just destroys you with distractions. If he can keep you busy with the wrong things, you'll never have the energy for the right things. When you learn to guard your focus, you become unstoppable. Every dream, every goal, every vision requires a season of isolation where you tune out the noise and tune in to what matters. You don't owe everyone access to your attention. Your focus is your responsibility. If you protect it, it will produce fruit that distractions could never give you. When you make focus your lifestyle, freedom follows because you are no longer a slave to everything competing for your mind. You are in accord to the assignment that God placed inside of you. Before you tie yourself to anyone, make sure you have built something worth sharing. Too many people rush into relationships, partnerships, and commitments before they have a solid foundation. They want love before they have identity. They want connection before they have clarity. And when you bind yourself prematurely, you end up losing focus, energy, and sometimes even the dream that God placed in your heart. Building before you bind means taking the time to establish your purpose, develop your gifts, and secure your vision. It means refusing to allow loneliness or pressure to push you into something you are not prepared for. Anything worth keeping is worth preparing for, and preparation takes time. When you skip the building stage, you set yourself up for frustration because you are expecting someone else to complete what you never cultivated within yourself. A relationship should complement your life, not complete it. If you don't know who you are, if you don't know where you're going, you will always end up compromising your calling for temporary companionship. Building is not just about money or material success. It's about emotional stability, spiritual maturity, and mental strength. You can't pour into someone else if your own cup is empty. You can't lead a family if you haven't learned to lead yourself. Take time to grow. Take time to learn. Take time to let God shape you into someone who can handle the weight of real commitment. Because when you bind too soon, you risk being bound to the wrong thing. And when you're tied to the wrong thing, it will always pull you away from the right thing. Building before binding ensures that when the right person comes, you are not desperate. You are ready. You can love from a place of wholeness instead of a place of weakness. And that kind of love lasts because it's not built on need, it's built on purpose. Before you give someone access to your life, make sure you've built a life worth sharing